We should open up by talking about what is your objective when you're making a game. And the objective of any game, video game or tabletop, is to create a set of rules that creates an emotional response. So, horror games, you're trying to create fear, tension, panic. Action games, you want excitement. With role playing games, it's about character progression, leveling up, getting stronger, growing. And with competitive games, it's that puzzly element when you're trying to one up the opponent or outplay them. All games have this one central mechanic or concept or system that everything else revolves around. We can also just call it the core of the game. And you can have additional mechanics that are built out from there. So it's not one single mechanic for the entire game, but everything should feed back in to make the core better. And that's your first major challenge, finding the core of your game. And there's no right way to do it, there's just more efficient ones. The first and the easiest one, probably something that I'd recommend if you're new to design in general, just find another game that you like and build on their mechanics. If you have a little bit more experience or you have a specific story you're trying to create, you can start working with mechanics that have an end goal in mind. How can I work my way backwards into creating that set of emotions? And then the one that I do a lot of playing with myself is just I'll sit down at a table with a set number of components and I'll just start playing with them with no rules in mind until I start finding something that makes me go, hey, this is pretty fun. And the only really important thing here is you want to build the lowest possible cost prototypes and just start to play. And once you start finding an emotion, you have a direction to go and you have something to build on. There are some differences if you're working on video games. A video game has a very high upfront cost as you have to build the prototype, create the assets, the physics, all of the motions, the interactions. There is a lot to them. So, what you need to do is focus on how do we create it super fast, super cheap. So, we use things like cubes and spheres, and we use simple replicated movement. Instead of testing in full 3D, test in 2D. If you're a newer dev, I highly recommend instead of building your own game from scratch, replicate an Atari game. The core is not an idea. This is the stage where you take an idea to the table and you prove that there's actual potential here. All of this really brings us to the question of how do you know you've found a good core? And the two things that I look for is either you're contemplating your own decisions while playing around with this, or you're feeling something. It does not need to be perfect at this point. Over the next week, I'd just like you to sit down and start playing with your components. Get comfortable playing with an unfinished game. What you're looking to do is find 3 to 5 core experiences that could potentially go into a good game. Thank you for watching, and we'll pick this up again next week.